$1,000 or whatever on a Sam.
Hey, bro.
Hey.
Did you end up playing Fallout?
I did.
How was it?
So fucking bad. Like, incredibly bad. Like, it's so bad that I'm making a video on it right now.
Are you doing a video on it?
Yeah. So I don't really do a lot of impressions or preview videos. I generally like to make sure a game is out and I've played a lot of it before I speak about it. But I've played the Fallout 76 beta on PC just then for 4 hours, and I played about 2.5 hours of the Xbox version before, and I just really feel the need to put this video out based upon how unbelievably garbage this game is shaping up from at least a performance perspective. And that's separate from my own personal view on some of the gameplay and design elements. So let's talk about the technical first, and then we can talk about the gameplay second, because I think that's a bit more subjective. My rig is a GeForce GTX 1080 Ti. It's got a i7 5820K. It's got 32 GB RAM. It's got everything. This is what I do for a living, so I've invested a lot of money in my computer. It's a good computer. So I started trying to run this in windowed mode at ultra settings at 2560 by 1440, and I couldn't get any more than around about 20 to 25 frames while I was doing that. So then I dropped all the settings and eventually got it down to, like, you know, medium settings, and it still wasn't great. And then I had to switch it over to full screen mode. And at that point, when I had the game on medium settings running at full screen, I could then get it to around about 30, maybe 35 frames per second. That's atrocious given how good my system is. Now, I will make the very important point that your mileage may vary, because I know other stories of people who had fantastic performance, or at least pretty good. Shroud, I heard, was streaming it. He got like 120 frames and dropped down to 80 sometimes, but he's on an RTX 2080 Ti, which is obviously just like another step up, right? The fact that he dropped down to 80 frames at all on a game like this, a game engine this old, just shows you how shitty this is, okay? And that's before we start talking about, you know, how it runs on consoles, where it was literally getting down to 12 or 13 frames, according to Digital Foundry and their analysis. So from a very basic level of consistent frame rate performance, this is already a huge red flag for this game. Number two, as someone who has a PC, I have an ultra-wide monitor. There's no ultra-wide support in this whatsoever. I did not see any options for managing my refresh rate, so that I have a 144 Hz monitor, and it just seemed like it was locked at 60 Hz, unless there's some option that becomes available when I have something specific plugged into it and it didn't like my monitor or something. That was not available for me, and so I was stuck at 60 Hz even though I've got a monitor that does a hell of a lot more than that. There's a very limited number of graphical settings available to you, and no field of view option, like no field of view at all. And what I've learned as well, which was discovered by the Reddit, is that your UI is actually tied to your field of view. So if you try and manually change the UI in the back end, it'll actually just push the UI elements off screen, so you can't do that. There's no workaround available for that at all. No field of view available in this. It's just crazy, to be honest. The very fact that my machine is not able to run this game that runs on an engine that is like nearly a decade old is ridiculous. Like, it's truly ridiculous. And even when it does run, it looks like ass. On the Xbox, when I played it, I was stunned and I was like, man, this looks like a PS2 game. Some of the textures that I saw, some of the foliage that I saw was so bad, it looked like a PS2 game.
Okay, ready? This is water right here. Look at that, guys. Look at those effects. Beautiful. Stunning. 2018. Ah. Magnifique.
Yeah, but I thought, all right, they're trying to do something with the consoles. They're trying to push something. I don't know. Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it'll get whatever. I thought on PC it's got to be better. It looked better, but not by much. Look at this water, by the way. This was the same on consoles. Look at this water. Guys, it's 2018. And this is the water effects that we get. Look at it. Look. Mario Sunshine had better water effects. So often I was just walking around this game and I was just remarking how ugly it looked. Like, it looks fucking ugly. And I don't care about graphics that much, but I do care about laziness. And I guess I care about these graphics in the context of how bad this performance is and how little effort it seems has gone into this game. The other thing I'll say is that no effort has been made whatsoever to take the clearly console-specific controller scheme and do away with that and make it so that you can play this game fully on a keyboard and mouse. As you play this game, you will discover so many buttons are used needlessly because they have not taken the time to develop a proper PC UI, and that's perfectly exemplified during the build phase, right? When you put down a camp, you got to build things. There's all this really cumbersome menu where I need to use the Z key and the C key to change something. I need to use the arrow keys up and down to change things. There's literally a keyboard and mouse that I'm holding in my fucking hand, and I'm not allowed to use it. I need to like press these weird keys to scroll through options because they were too lazy to take the console controllers and provide me with something like they should have provided when I'm using a keyboard and mouse. I got so mad at that point when I was playing that, when I saw how lazy that controller, that UI framework was. I like had to pause for 30 seconds to compose myself. I was like, are you actually fucking serious? So that's that, and I think that's a lot of the technical aspects out the way. And a lot of people are going to say, hey man, it's a beta, right? It's coming out in 15 days or whatever, but don't worry, they'll change all of this. Bullshit. They're not going to change. They'll change a few things, but the stuff that I'm talking about, very little of that is going to change before launch. And even if you are an optimist, I would say to you, you are a fool if you put your money down for this in advance of reviews and it shipping and the like. You are a fool, a damn fool. More so than pre-ordering normally, which is pretty foolish. This seems very foolish. You need to wait to see how this thing actually runs at launch, because right now it runs like ass, okay? It runs like absolute ass, so please be aware of that. Beyond the technical stuff, there's definitely some concerns I have about how this gameplay loop is shaping up. First of all, there's no NPCs. What this does is it makes the world feel very empty all of the time. Now, Fallout is meant to feel empty. I know that. I've played the other Fallout games too. But this one feels particularly empty. It feels completely lifeless, in fact. Because interaction with other people in games like this really helps to break it up and create a feeling of like world building and substance and something. But right now, all I'm talking to are robots, and all I'm hearing are these holotape things playing that just drone on forever and ever and ever. Some of these holotapes go for like 6 or 7 minutes of just people talking about the most boring shit, and somehow this is meant to be immersive. The decision to not have any NPCs, I think, was a very ill-advised decision. And also, it actually has very serious story implications, because so often you're going to be like, you get a quest that's like, hey, go find Phil. Phil's going to teach you how to do something. And you're like, all right, cool, I'll go find Phil. But guess what? You know there's no NPCs in this game. You know that everyone's dead. So you know that when you get there, you're not going to find Phil. You're going to find Phil's holotape. It gets old really fast. I promise you that. Like 7 times now. It's like, go see Margaret, go see Phil, go see Egbert, I don't know, and you always know what the outcome is. There's a corpse lying on the ground, there's a holotape there, you start listening to the holotape. So that already really sucks. Now, PvP is in many respects the heart and soul of what this experience is. It's the core of what a lot of these open world sandbox survival games are about. And what I'm seeing already is that this game is compromised too much on that vision, and PvP is just really shit and boring as a result. I met one guy who was in a house, I shot him like 80 times, it didn't do anything. Krugsplat! Hey buddy. Yeah, buddy. Come on, buddy. You're wearing a dress. Let's go, buddy.
Fuck yourself, buddy.
Go fuck yourself, he says. Come on, man. Come at me, bruh. So I can't do anything to him right now. Nothing. His turrets aren't even attacking me, by the way. Okay, now they're attacking me. Until he eventually shot me back after he had all his turrets set up. And then eventually he managed to kill me. And then I could somehow go and get revenge on him then after that. And I got revenge by just killing him, like shooting him in the face twice while he had his menu open. Here we go. Ready? Wrong button. Fuck. Rip. 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 He didn't even do anything because he was in his menu at the time. He had no idea what was going on. And then we did this 3 or 4 times. He swore at me a few times, which was kind of funny. And that was it. Like, that was what PvP was. Because what the developers have not done is made a commitment to say, we are going to make a PvP game with tension inherent around it. We're going to build rewards around that. We're going to build risk and reward frameworks. What they've done instead is this awkward compromise where PvE players are probably going to be disappointed because they'd like to just get on with their business without being hassled, and PvP players are going to be pissed off because they'd like to be able to PvP and they just keep getting ignored by PvE players. It's very similar to something like the Dark Zone in the Division, where you have two players with very different objectives and goals meeting in a space and then having to just kind of awkwardly coexist with both of them not being satisfied with what's taking place. Again, your mileage may vary. I played this on my own. It's possible. If I'm playing with a whole group of people, it's a whole lot better. But let my experience be emblematic of what this might be like as a solo player. And I know a lot of Bethesda fans are solo players, so definitely keep this in mind. At the very core level though, there's just a problem with gunplay and clunkiness and performance with regards to the actual combat system. It doesn't feel good to fire a gun in Fallout. It's never felt good to fire a gun in Fallout. I didn't really care that much before because it was about the story and the world and the RPG and whatever else, the factions, all that shit. It's like The Witcher. We didn't really care that the combat sucked. It was about all the other things. But here, the combat is a core part of what this game is. It's arguably the core part, and it really does feel shitty and clunky and bad. And I never enjoy pulling the trigger in this game, and that's a big problem for a game like this. VATS. Holy shit. VATS, if you're not aware, is the auto-targeting system available in Fallout games that basically lets you select a body part so that you can then do, more guaranteed damage plus chance for bonus damage, etc, etc. Works perfectly fine in a single-player game. In a multiplayer game, you're like, what do you do with it? Don't worry, guys. VATS is back. It's just the worst, most memed version of it possible. The way VATS works is that you press the Q button, it will automatically target an enemy, and you just pull the trigger and it will almost guaranteed hit them. Well, hit them based upon the percentage that you see when you target them. So your gun doesn't actually point at the thing that it's aiming at, right? So like, I could be targeting something and my gun is pointing in another direction, but I will somehow still hit that target. It looks fucking ridiculous. I don't care what the RPG is. I don't care about the magic bullshit explanation. From a gameplay perspective, it looks dumb. It feels really dumb and goofy and lazy, and this is a bad implementation of VATS. Like, I honestly just felt stupid using it because it was so dumb and so cheesy. And yes, you can use this in PvP as well as PvE. On top of this were just myriad bugs that I found. There was this awesome moment where we found like god rays coming up from the ground, which we nicknamed Todd rays. Where is that light coming from? Like, look at this. Like, can I just ask? Okay. Tell me where that light is coming from, okay? It's like, you know what Todd's like, you know what people like? God rays. God rays out of the fucking earth. The water was totally fucked. I don't know, just bad. Okay, by the way, guys, we're back at some water. We're back at the water in case you missed out. This is the water. Okay, a moment ago we had the Todd rays. Now we have the water. Enemies would just appear randomly or disappear. They'd behave super weirdly. They'd get caught behind things, whatever else. There's so much pop-in in this game as well. Like, I know it's not a bug. I know it's more of a graphical thing, but you're just walking around and then all of a sudden, boom, just so much shit just pops up in front of you. You're like, where the fuck did all that come from? Okay, so like, as I said, I don't make these videos often. And I'm not the kind of guy that wants to like, fearmonger around, some upcoming game or whatever else when I've only put so little time into it. But this game's out in 15 days. This is one of the worst betas I've ever played in my entire time playing video games. And it's from Bethesda. They're one of the biggest, most well-resourced companies in the world when it comes to video game development. They can do a hell of a lot better than this, and they have absolutely not done this. And now there are no modders to save them because the mods don't come for at least another year. There's microtransactions, they're already in, guys, but all this other stuff that I've talked about, that's not in yet. Like field of view slider, no. Microtransactions, yes. Field of view slider, you'll have to wait for that. Do you know what I mean? I think it's really shitty. I think that anyone that has their pre-order available, I would strongly recommend cancelling it. If you'd still like to get the game later on, sure, fine, but wait for reviews and wait till you see a good chunk of this play out. If you really like this experience, cool, good on you, that's great. I personally think that the product here is substandard. Yes, you might be able to make your own fun in this game, but the game itself seems pretty incidental to what that fun will end up being, because right now it is a very rocky, very barren, very broken product, and I don't see 15 days as being enough to turn this around and deliver it, you know, make it a real product that is going to be like, yeah, cool, this is worth $60. And $60, by the way, like if this was worth $30 like most of those other sandbox survival games, I'd be like, okay, fair enough, let's just do this. But $60 for this, it just seems like robbery. And, you know, maybe there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there that comes later on, but I do not think the fundamentals are there. I would very strongly caution people against pre-ordering this. The PC port is terrible. It's atrocious. And I really hope that, you know, it gets a lot better. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. I will see you guys later.